The offensive line issues have been the theme of the week for the Carolina Panthers. Frank Reich talked about the offensive line rotation. So there's some context here. You got some injuries. Everybody's banged up already in the preseason. So how do you work with that? You're still dealing with the effects at the right guard position because Austin Corbett got hurt at the end of last year. So Corbett, it's entirely possible that Corbett misses the first 4 games of the season and they put him on the PUP list, right? But he's active. They've been having conversations. He's at press availability and those types of things. So they're pretty much down to, who are they down to? Cade Mays, Justin McCray, and Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan didn't have a good preseason game on Saturday. Chandler Zavala, who was Ike Ekwuanu's teammate for like a brief moment. I think they only played like 5 games together during their time at NC State. But regardless, Zavala's been hurt throughout this preseason. So we don't really know what he's
this year.
Yeah. So we haven't really seen what he's capable of and what he can do with the offensive line. Frank Reich was asked about it during yesterday's availability, what the rotation is going to be for this preseason game on Friday against the New York Giants.
Yeah, there'll be a little rotation, not quite as much, still working with Campy on that. Wanted to see these young guys, Zavala and Nash, kind of get them through this week and make sure they didn't have any setbacks. So I'll sit down with Campy, at some point today and kind of finalize what that'll be.
Will Cade be available?
Cade will not be available.
So there you go. Cade May is not available for Friday.
So one thing that's really important when we talk about the Panthers offensive line, and I think this has been lost in translation a little bit, and I've been very positive and I've been very encouraged by all of the things the Panthers have done since the end of last season.
Mm-hmm.
You got to remember when they fired Matt Rule and they made Steve Wilkes the interim coach, they then tried to win a very specific way. And NC State fans will be very familiar with this because what they were doing was they were running the football, shortening the game, trying to win with their defense.
Mm-hmm.
And it is actually easier to run block than it is to pass block. So there was a mentality there. Hey, and you saw it with the Panthers as the year went along. Chuba Hubbard, we're going to run the football. Deontay Foreman, we're going to run the football. We're going to grind this game down. We're going to shorten the game. We're going to win a very specific way. I'm not going to say that's an easier way to win because you have to out physical people and you have to have that mentality.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a more simple way of winning a football game. I think, and that is to Steve Wilkes' credit. That is not some sort of knock on what they did midstream last year,
sure.
Right? But what Frank Reich is trying to do with a very similar group up front, mind you, is now say to them, okay, cool. While you had success playing that very specific way, we're not going to play that way anymore. Mm-hmm. We're going to go back to a more multiple look. We're obviously going to involve, there's more of these forward pass things,
What's that?
It's not like the air raid or anything like that, but it is, they have a new quarterback. That this isn't like we have to protect Sam Darnold or the XFL Mahomes. This is like you're starting over. And I think sometimes that can get lost in translation when we talk about all of the good things that the Panthers have done. We can forget that the progress they actually made within a season, which is really hard to do under Steve Wilkes, and this is a salute and hat tip to Steve Wilkes for what he was able to do. We lose sometimes, and we think, well, they're just building off of what Steve Wilkes did. No, they're actually not.
It is a blank slate.
Maybe defensively there'll be some carryover because there's so many of the same pieces defensively, sure. But ultimately on offense, you're talking about a whole change here, and it's a whole entire different philosophy. And I get, what you've said and with Lauren this week, and then what Dimitri and Lauren are saying on our Panthers podcast, that you can't, this is one preseason game. Let us all.
Yeah, it's one
let us all
preseason
breathe,
game.
And it's against a really good defensive front, and that's a thing too.
Yeah,
but I think we have to be mindful of what the Panthers are trying to look like. This isn't a continuation from last year, which in if you understand football, I'm not saying you don't, not you, but I'm saying the world at large.
No, I know what you mean.
And we'll see this with NC State this year too. Keep in mind, there is a simple way to play, and that is to grind the clock, use the clock, limit possessions, and let your defense try to win football games.
Although that's supposed to be the change this year with Dave Dorn's squad.
Right. This year we're going to see a different system.
So we'll see.
So the question is, how will they all make those adjustments? And then that's where I'm interested to see where the Panthers go from. And this doesn't bother me, by the way, with the Panthers, having the issues that they're having right now, good. I want you to have. I want you to have issues.
Look, everybody's having issues, right? So let's look at the Jets. All right. We know their defensive line is really good. We know their defensive line made the offensive line for the Panthers look like Swiss cheese. And that's been the topic of the week. But you know who else is not happy with their offensive line? The Jets.